Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la محمد رسول الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح.
Alhamdulillah, inna alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. We begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We seek the guidance of Allah. We seek the forgiveness of Allah. We seek His nearness, His compassion, His mercy, and we put our complete trust and reliance in Him. Because of that deep trust that we have in Allah, we go to Him alone for protection from the evil thoughts that may creep into our minds. And we go to Him alone for protection from the poor choices that we may make in this life. I bear witness that there is nothing in this universe worthy of serving, of bowing before, of absolutely loving and serving except for Allah. And I bear witness that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his last and his final messenger. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ittaqullaha haqqa tuqatihi wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. O you believe, be mindful of Allah, be conscious of Allah, and be in awe of Allah, in a way that Allah has a right that you be in awe of Him. And do not die unless you die in a state of Islam, in a state of submission. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. O you who believe, be mindful of Allah and always speak words that are accurate and precise and true. In doing so, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless your affairs and overlook your shortcomings and your mistakes. And whoever obeys the guidance of Allah and His Messenger, then he will achieve the ultimate success. Bye-bye. It is an astounding fact in this country that at any moment in time, there are over 2 million people who are sitting and rotting in a jail or in a penitentiary. And this problem of mass incarceration is well known in America. In fact, America is leading the world in the amount of people it imprisons per capita than any other place. That means more people per capita. The percentage of Americans are in jail than in any other country in the world. And I think that this is a very important topic for the community to speak about. It's an issue of social justice. And it goes fundamentally against the idea of people being free and people having autonomy to live their lives in a suitable way. But I don't want to make this a topic of today's khutbah because I think there is a larger prison out there. There's a jail out there in the world that imprisons more than 2 million people. In fact, it might imprison a few billion people. And I'm speaking about the prison of the mind. And you might be wondering, what is the prison of the mind? Well, first, what is the mind? The mind is the place, it's the element of a person that allows him or her to think, to reflect, to feel the experiences in their life. It is the faculty of thought and of consciousness. And most people in the world, or at least many people in the world, many of us may be wondering about our own lives. Then why is it that so many people, whether they're at work, whether kids are at school, whether children are with their parents, they struggle to pay attention and focus to anything that is in front of them. So the prison of the mind is this inability to focus on any goal-oriented behavior. So you might think that you're at work and you really got to focus on this task, but man, you just want to click on the browser and go to YouTube. Or you really want to focus, your son or your daughter is doing homework, but they just want to take out that phone over and over and check the updates in the world. And so the great scholar of Islam, Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah, he actually spoke about this prison of the mind a long time ago. And when he spoke about, he said the real prisoner, he's not the individual who is sitting in a prison cell. He said the real prisoner is the one who was unable to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he said the real captive is the one who was encaptivated by his whims and his desires. SubhanAllah, a very powerful statement he made. And attention is a fuel on which our minds run. And a sad reality of the world today, with all the blessings of technology, is that there are so many different things competing for your attention on a day-to-day, actually on a moment-to-moment basis. It could be your email, it could be your telephone, right? It could be the other social media that's beeping around the clock, it could be your family or your children. There's always somebody or something in life that's calling your attention. And the reality of our lives is none of us likely feel that we can accomplish everything we want to in life. And so it's a strange reality of life that sadly most people practice mindlessness in their day-to-day affairs. In that they are not really perceptive and aware of what they're doing. You might think about when you drive to work in the morning. Your mind sometimes goes on autopilot. You get to your office and you sometimes might think, man, how did I even get here? I wasn't even thinking about every turn. My mind just knew where to go. So sometimes it's a blessing that you don't have to think deeply about everything in your life. But other times it can be actually a torment, that you go through life without actually thinking and being aware of the moments. And people think, or they say sometimes that time is money, but time is actually your life. And more often than not, we are often regretting the past or being anxious about the future. So that's really something astounding. When we should be perhaps thinking about the moment that we're in, enjoying the moment that we're in, and doing the best possible thing in that moment in time. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he spoke about this concept as well. And he told it to a young teenager from amongst the companions, Abdullah ibn Abbas, radiallahu anhu. When he told him that, oh dear, or my dear son, ya ghulam, inni u'allimuka al-kalima. Let me tell you some words of wisdom. He said, احفظ الله يحفظك. احفظ الله تجده تجاهك. وإذا سألت فاسأل الله. وإذا استعنت فاستعن بالله. It's a very powerful notion that he told him that, oh young boy, be mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah will be mindful of you. Be mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you will find Allah wherever you are. So that when you need to ask, you will only ask Allah. And when you need to rely upon someone, you will only rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the Prophet was getting at this notion about the importance, about living in the present moment, in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a very revolutionary idea actually. To live in the present moment, in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this goes against probably what 99.9% of us are trained to do because of the complexity of our lives. But it is something fundamentally important to the fulfillment of the nafs. It is fundamentally important to our purpose in life. That what more is our life than being aware of Allah's presence and enjoying His presence and enjoying His blessings. But when we live a mindless existence, we are the farthest from this mindful fitrah that we're supposed to be upon. So inshallah, I want to speak about, in the second part of the khutbah, just two very simple things that we can do to try to change our orientation toward the world. Because too often, people become mindful of the khalq. People are very mindful of what others are thinking. So if you look at the younger generation, as soon as someone does something, what comes to mind is, let me make sure I can capture this and share it with the creation. I gotta take a picture so I can tweet it or I can put it on Facebook. If I said something or someone said something, let me stop and let me tweet it. Because I want everyone to know what I am thinking. So people are mindful, but of the creation. But we need to become mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are some things that the Quran and the Sunnah has told us. Hopefully we can inculcate in our lives so we can move towards being that personality that Allah tells us is the fitrah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه غفور رحيم. التائب من ذنبه كمن لا ذنب له فادعوا الله. الحمد لله وكفى وصلوات الله وسلامه على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد في الأولين وصل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد في الآخرين وصل وسلم وبارك عليه كل وقت وحين آمين. One of the opportunities that the world around us has created, the technology in particular, is the chance to multitask. And multitasking is something that many people, they find joy and pride in. You might find your son or your daughter often remark that, you know, Baba, Mama, I can watch TV, I can listen to something in my ear, and I can do my homework all at the same time. And I can walk while doing it, maybe chewing gum while doing that too. And it's almost a sense of pride that look at all that I can do at one moment in time. Because before, the way we think, when time is money, that's actually makes sense. That if every minute from a capitalist mentality is earning potential, then you would think the more things I can do in 1 minute or 1 hour, the more money that I can make. But we fail to realize that number one, your brain doesn't do a very good job. This is something which we learned from neuroscience research and other types of research, that when people try to do multiple things, they don't do any of those things well. And now you find laws about you using your cell phone in the car because we know that. By texting in the car or by talking on the phone, it diminishes your ability to focus on the singular task of driving. And so we find ourselves doing this over and over in the day. And strangely, the Quran actually speaks a little bit about this. About the notion about enjoyment in the present moment and trying to do too many things at once. And it's amazing that the example that I'm going to speak about is, I think, the example that I found myself, and I'm sure we all find ourselves doing on a regular basis. Which is usually we try to find the most useless time of our day to do things that are more efficient. And one of those times is when we're eating a meal. So you might think when you're eating breakfast, or you're eating lunch, or you're eating dinner, you think, how can I get other things into this hour that I'm eating or this moment? Because eating is actually not a very, it's not very important. It's not very efficient for making money, or for just the hours in the day. So we watch TV while we eat. Usually that's the time where people get together and they watch TV. We might pick up the phone and make a phone call. We might be sitting and writing something. We might be doing something else. Yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He tells us something interesting about food, which goes into this greater idea about reflecting over the universe. But we'll get just to the food first. Allah tells us in Surah Abasa, فَلْيَنظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَىٰ طَعَامِهِ. He says, let mankind look to his food. Why? Why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala address the human being in this form of just stopping and looking at your food? فَلْيَنظُرِ الْإِنسَانُ إِلَىٰ طَعَامِهِ أَنَّا صَبَبْنَا الْمَاءَ صَبًّا ثُمَّ شَقَقْنَا الْأَرْضَ شَقًّا فَأَنبَتْنَا فِيهَا حَبًّا وَعِنَبًا وَقَضْبًا وَزَيْتُونًا وَنَخْلًا وَحَدَائِقَ غُلْبًا وَفَاكِهَةً وَأَبًّا. So He tells us, let mankind look at his food. And perhaps then the individual who's not doing 20 things, he's just stopping. He looks at what Allah has created for him, whether it's salad or rice or grains. He might pause and reflect for a moment. Where did this food come from? And then you might, and the verses walk you through. This food didn't come out of nowhere. Water had to fall from the sky in abundance. It had to penetrate the dirt and get down to a seed. That seed had to grow. And that seed became all different types of fruits and vegetables and greens and you name it. And then Allah tells us, why did He do all of this? Why did Allah give us this variety of food in the colors, in the shapes, in the texture, in the flavor, in the aroma? He said, مَتَاعًا لَكُمْ وَلِأَنْعَامِكُمْ. He said, for you and for the animals to enjoy. Now if we go back to the fundamental premise of the khutbah, people are mindless in most of their life. Mindlessness prevents you from enjoying that moment. And so after you might eat a meal while doing 10 things, you didn't stop for a minute to appreciate where the food came from, to smell the food, to taste it, and to really just savor it, and then to say Alhamdulillah. It's a form of mindfulness. It's a form of living in the present moment, in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then that changing your disposition in life, actually. Number two, so that's the first suggestion of the khutbah, to be practical, is let's try to make mealtime a time to train ourselves to focus on one task. Just look at your food. Maybe if you're eating really garbage junk food, maybe you don't want to do it. But maybe it's a call to then eat a little more healthy. If you're eating fast food, you might look and say, A'udhu Billah. But you eat a wholesome meal, and you reflect over it, and you smell it. And that brings about an awareness of where it came from, an awareness of Allah, and appreciation for Allah. Number two, Allah says in the Quran over 100 times some form of reflecting over the world. He might say, Alam tara, alam tara, alam yara, afala yanzuruna, afalam yanzuru. Some form of do they not see, do they not reflect, do you not see, do you not reflect? Why does Allah tell us all this? And it seems to be, from the hundreds of ayat about this, the same notion we have today. That people are often just oblivious to the world around them. And so Allah is giving the human being ample reminders to stop and reflect, because there is actually a secret in it. One example from the Quran, Allah says, خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ بِغَيْرِ عَمَدٍ تَرَوْنَهَا, where He tells the human being to reflect. He created the earth without any pillars that you see. وَأَلْقَى فِي الْأَرْضِ رَوَاسِيَ أَن تَمِيدَ بِكُمْ وَبَثَّ فِيهَا مِن كُلِّ دَابَّةٍ وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً فَأَنبَتْنَا فِيهَا مِنْ كُلِّ زَوْجٍ كَرِيمٍ. So Allah quickly walks us through this. Just look at the sky above you and how perfect is it. And then look at the earth and how He's put the mountains around you to keep this earth firm. And look at all the various animals He has spread throughout this earth. And then look at the rain and how it falls, and how that rain causes all types of beautiful plants to grow. Why does Allah tell us this? Because we have a propensity to become enamored with the khalq again. It is very natural. If you look around, that people say, "Oh my gosh, oh my God," and they say, "Oh my God," but they're astounded by what a person has done. "Oh my God, did you see what Apple invented? The new iPhone, it came out. Did you see the new skyscraper? Did you see the new quad-core computer?" And so we say this as an expression of our culture, "Oh my God," but we become astounded by what the human beings have done. So Allah tells us to look at all of this creation around you. The rivers, the lakes, the mountains, the sky. And then He says, هَذَا خَلْقُ اللَّهِ فَأَرُونِي مَاذَا خَلَقَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. Because this is the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This amazing universe around you. Now tell me what others have created. فَأَرُونِي مَاذَا خَلَقَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. Now what has man created that can compete with Allah's creation? بَلِ الظَّالِمُونَ فِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ. But people are sadly in a state of oppression. They become obsessed over what man makes, these devices, and they are heedless and mindless of what Allah has created. And now in this, subhanAllah, there's a secret that I stumbled across that I think is very powerful to share. And that it goes back to our notion of mindfulness and mindlessness and attention. That people become exhausted when they are engaged with technology throughout the day, actually looking at streets and architecture and buildings and computers and walls actually takes a toll on your nafs. And modern science has also found a very astonishing finding that when you look at nature, it actually refuels your ability to focus. So they'll actually do these amazing tests. Well, they'll send people for a walk in the park and people for a walk in a business district. And then they'll test their memory, they'll test their mood, they'll test their focus on a task. And they repeatedly find when people, they don't have to do anything. They just look at the flowers. They look at the sky. They look at the trees and the leaves. This creation of Allah replenishes our ability to focus. It makes the nafs in a better state. Then you wonder what Allah said, أَلَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ خَلَقَ وَهُوَ اللَّطِيفُ الْخَبِيرُ. That did the one who created, does He not know best? And He is very subtle and gentle and knowing. So advice number 2 is to try for all of us to take just a moment in the day to look at the creation. When you take a walk on your lunch break, maybe take a walk in a park. When you come home from work, maybe sit in your backyard and just look at nothing. Look at the grass, look at the trees, look at the sky. All of this will actually do something amazing to your nafs. It will take it from that state of being anxious, stressed out, unable to focus, and hopefully begin to give it some capacity to focus in life. And then we get to the ultimate litmus test that people usually have in life. When we want to really find out how focused are we look at our salah. And everyone, they go to their salah, and we say Allahu Akbar, and then maybe after the salah, I know I do it. Says, man, why was I unable to focus as much as I wanted to? And people then go to seminars, and they listen to lectures, and they try to figure out, what is the magic pill? If I take this pill, then all of a sudden I say Allahu Akbar, and my heart is connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The take home that I think is from all this information is that there is no magic pill. The nafs has to train itself in the 23.5 hours it's not in salah to focus on any task. If you're working, you're working. If you're eating, you're eating. When you're speaking to someone, you're speaking to someone. And that has become a lost art. We talk to somebody and our hand is in our pocket, ready for it to buzz. As soon as it buzzes, we take it out. Excuse me, sir. This is actually a very basic etiquette that young people are losing today. It's because we have trained ourselves not to focus. So if you want to find khushu' in salah, you have to find the ability to focus in life. Because the brain is not a switch. We say Allahu Akbar, and all of a sudden it can forget, and it'll just wipe everything clear. All the stuff that you think about and you multitask, you taught your brain to do, when you say Allahu Akbar, your brain will start to multitask. And it's trying to say the Fatiha, but it's also thinking about work, and it's thinking about your kids, and it's thinking about what you're going to do after work. You've trained it like a muscle. So the solution really is it's a lifestyle choice to live a mindful existence, mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which requires reformation of our habits. And then perhaps we'll get to the example of the Salihin, the righteous from our Ummah, who were able to actually be in this deep focus in their salah. The example I can give is that of Muslim ibn Yasar, rahimahullah, the great tabi'i. This man, they used to say that when he was in salah, he's oblivious to the world. So he would go to his wife and his kids in his house, and he would say that when I say Allahu Akbar, you guys can do whatever you want. You want to talk, you can talk. It doesn't affect me. I am just clueless as to what you're saying. So he goes into his salah, and his wife and his kids, they're talking at home, and all of a sudden his house catches on fire. And the wife and the kids run out of the home, and the neighbors, they come and they pour water on the house, and they realize that Muslim is still in the house. They run back in the home after putting out the fire. They said, "What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Your house was on fire. Why didn't you get out of your house?" And he said that, honestly, I had no idea my house was on fire. I was in my salah. I had no idea my house was on fire. This is a very lofty place. May Allah give us the tawfiq to get there. But it must have taken a lot of hard work. It is a disposition towards life. It is a disposition towards life. And so we will try, inshaAllah. I hope the guidance is one step at a time with our food, with just looking at the nature around us, to try to connect with the creation of Allah in a way that makes us aware of His existence. And inshaAllah, in that, we will free our mind of the prison that it's often in, where it's unable to focus. Right? And it's maybe even upset at times, and it's at peace, and it's happy, and is content with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah to give us this rida. We ask Allah to give us this mindfulness. We ask Allah to protect us from heedlessness and ghafla. Allahumma hadina fi man hadayt, wa afina fi man afayt, wa tawallana fi man tawallayt, wa barik lana fi ma a'tayt. Innaka taqdi bil haqqi subhanak wa la yuqda alayk, wa laka shukrana bima a'tayt. Nastaghfiruka Allahumma min jami' al-dhunubi wal khataaya wa natubu ilayk. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم ألف بين قلوبنا، اللهم وحد صفوفنا، اللهم اهدنا واهد بنا واجعلنا سببا لمن اهتدى. Although we ask you for peace and comfort in our lives, although we ask you to give us khushu' in every aspect of our life, although we ask you to give us this deep khushu' in our salah, although we ask you to give us focus in all the tasks that we perform, although we ask you to protect us from ever falling into ghafla and heedlessness, although we ask you to protect us and our children and our wives, although we ask you to bring peace and comfort to the Muslims all over the world, although we ask you to bring victory to Islam, although we ask you to guide us and to make us a guide for others. And oh Allah, we ask you ultimately to give us your satisfaction, to give us your love, by which you admit us into Jannah and into the company of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We may drink from his hands. وَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنكَرِ وَلَذِكْرُ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ مَا تَصْنَعُونَ.